because they ask questions
Hundreds.
like, when did you quit? When did you quit beating your wife? And you go, well, what do you mean? I didn't quit beating my wife. And then they put in the report, the defendant admits that he continues to beat his wife. That's just, but if there's a body camera or it's recorded, we get to see. I love it. I absolutely love to have video of what's going on, so that there's no questions.
Right, you can't have.
Yeah, I like to have video too. It's not so good for some of my clients.
That's
who end
true.
up on video. I just did a case within the past 2 weeks of a guy that was robbing 3 people. That's bad enough that you're taking a gun and you're going up to 3 people, makes them get on their knees, and then decides, he needed to pistol whip them. Now, if that isn't bad enough, it was all on videotape. Yeah. And the complaining witnesses gave a perfect description of the way he was dressed, and he's seen running away when the police come around, throws the gun away, and he's got the property of the complaining witnesses in their pocket. So that videotape, that did not help the defendant in the case. It hurt him very badly.
I've got a case right now where I've got a case right now where my client allegedly punched a guy in a bar and broke his nose. It was self-defense, and they have video of everything except for the 16 seconds that's missing when the altercation took place. Now, I don't know how that 16 seconds got taken out of that video.
The missing 16 seconds.
Yeah, I think Richard
Nixon
Nixon
happen a lot.
was near them.
The crucial element, the thing that is
camera
most
suddenly quits
significant
working.
is missing.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit.
That's been going on. Let me tell you, that's been going on since the Kennedy assassination with the Zapruder film. If you look at that film, it's an unbelievable film, and there's several other films, but there's like a few seconds of that film that are missing that have caused so much controversy. It was hidden behind a sign, and because of that, there's been all kinds of controversy and millions of pages of documents written about it. So the missing 16 seconds is not an uncommon occurrence in these type of events.
Absolutely.
It's always the real important 16 seconds, too. It's never the unimportant 16
Right.
seconds.
Right.
The key 16 seconds that you needed, probably, right? Okay, for the callers that are holding on, please hold on. We have a couple more stories, and we will get to you. Police, a Texas judge shot outside her home. Let's listen to this clip, and we'll talk on the other side.
A judge is in the hospital with extremely serious injuries. Travis County District Judge Julie Kukurik was gunned down last night right outside of her home in the Terrytown neighborhood of Austin. Her attacker is still on the loose, and the clues are few and far between. CNN's Ed Lavandera joins me now over the phone. So, Ed, what kind of information have investigators grabbed?
Well, it doesn't sound like the investigators in Austin have much of a lead at this point. This happened just after 10 o'clock Central Time last night when the judge was arriving back at her home in that Terrytown neighborhood of Austin, which is a very exclusive neighborhood there just on the western edge of downtown Austin. And she was shot and immediately rushed to the hospital. Hospital officials say she is now in stable condition. She has spent part of the evening in critical condition. But at this point, it doesn't appear like the injuries will be life-threatening, and it sounds like the judge is expected to make a recovery. But at this point, clearly everyone trying to figure out in the situation, and obviously her position as a judge, a very high-profile judge there in Travis County in Austin, obviously creates a much more intense situation around this particular shooting as people trying to figure out, was she targeted specifically because of her work, or was this a random act? And that's what investigators are trying to figure out right now.
And so, obviously, they would be looking into whether this shooting has anything to do with a current case that she may be overseeing, because she is known to be involved in high-profile political cases and even anti-violence campaigns.
Right, and that's the difficult part of this case. We covered extensively a couple of years ago, just outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Kaufman County, a DA and another prosecutor that were shot and killed by someone who had been in a disgruntled person who had been involved in one of their past cases and some of their past work as well. So obviously, and we know from those situations that one of the things that investigators had to do was pore over extensively over all of the different criminal cases or any of the kind of cases that this particular judge might have been involved in to try to figure out if anyone out there might have had a motive to carry out an attack like this, and also try to figure out whether or not it might have just happened to be a random attack. But obviously, at this point, it doesn't sound like investigators are ruling out either of those possibilities.
All right, Ed Levendera, keep us posted. Thank you so much.
Joseph Scott Morgan, let's go to you first. This seems to be a possible payback. People are speculating. So say you on this.
What's going to be critical in this case is this encumbrance that was placed in the driveway. I think they're either trash bags or trash container. Police were kind of non-specific about this. We talked about this on Nancy Grace's show the other day. I hope that when they began to handle this container, that it was handled very carefully. If there are smooth surfaces on this thing and it hasn't been raining, I think that latent prints could come into play. If the subject was not wearing gloves, particularly on the smooth surfaces, plastic garbage bags, you can retrieve fingerprints from there. And if it is a trash container itself, there could be potential touch DNA evidence that's left behind here as well. Nancy had mentioned video surveillance. That keep in mind the price tag of a lot of these homes is upwards of $1 million. I'm sure that many of these places do have some kind of video surveillance that's in place. Hopefully, the police have gone the extra mile to retrieve any kind of any kind of videography that might be there. But we have to also think about if this is an attempt on this judge's life, there could be further aggravating circumstances relative to this idea of planning and premeditation. Was it a single person? Did this person enter into an agreement with somebody else to engage in this behavior? Because thought has been placed into this. This is not something that was apparently done on the fly. Thought at least to the point where they would put this barrier in the driveway to facilitate her stopping and getting out of the car to remove it. Now, fortunately for the judge, she was just struck by flying glass and metal from the round passing through the car. I'm hoping that they were able to retrieve the round that it lodged in the vehicle. It's really unclear right now if they did. If maybe they can, if it's not too deformed, they will be able to conduct ballistics on that spent round and compare it to a weapon that they might retrieve in the future.
Okay, Alex Sanchez, so say you on this case, or story rather.
I'll tell you, if judges aren't safe, like nobody's safe. Everything Joe was talking about, the forensics, I mean, that's very important in trying to, link a person to a crime and to establish a case against, let's say, a particular individual, which, by the way, a person, I understand, has been arrested for this offense. But it's not really, it's not going to clarify what the motivation was for this, whether it was a personal motivation or, someone hired this guy. Since they arrested him, let's hope, I would hope, that the police all use those fantastic, interrogation techniques that Joe was talking about and that they teach at some school somewhere, and they use it on this guy and get him to make some statements. Because, if he was operating at the behest of somebody else, I mean, to me, that would be very, very important to know. As a matter of fact, if he had that type of information, if the person that was arrested was acting, at the behest of someone else, it would be in his interest to reveal that, because he could cut, some great deal with the prosecution. But also, we would be able to find out who was behind this. Was it someone the judge knew personally? Was there a personal motivation or some romantic situation going on? Or did it have to do with a case? Did it have to do with a neighbor in the community? I mean, who knows? But the fact that they arrested this individual and he has an incentive to reveal that information is very good. Let's hope the police, are able to convince this guy that it is in his interest to come forward and tell what he knows.
Dwane Cates, your thoughts?
Well, my first thought about this story is that it really doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, think about this. You're a hitman and you're going to kill this judge, right? So you put a garbage can or something out there so that when the judge comes home, they have to stop and get out of their car to move the garbage can, right? And you can't shoot them. You shoot through a car window or something, and it gets injured by glass and metal. I mean, how lame do you have to be at your job? Okay, I mean, you can't. I mean, if you've got it set, I mean, it just makes no sense. And and the first thing I'd want to do with this person that they've arrested is pull his cell phone records. Okay, that'll tell you a lot about what's going on, who he's. I mean, that's how the conspiracy cases for murder get 99% of the time get broken wide open, is based on cell phone records. Who was this guy talking to, and because it's going to be easy to check if he was involved in some case that the judge had. I mean, that'll be a no-brainer, But if it's a murder for hire plot, I mean, he had to communicate somehow with the person that hired him.
Dwane's point that this guy, shot through a window or something tells me that this was no professional assassin.
Right. It wasn't a hit, professional hit.
Yeah, this was some clown that somebody either hired or he was, trying to commit the crime himself for some personal revenge purposes. And that's very interesting to know, because if we start learning that judges are being assassinated by professional, hitmen from mob organizations, that's a very dark event that's occurring in this country.
Oh. Yeah, I'll have to. I had a salesman call me that wanted to sell me a briefcase that had a bulletproof board in it. Said that I need to carry one of those with me, and I said, well,
man, it must be dangerous where you live, man.
I just carry a gun in my car. Okay?
Wow.
So, I mean, I'm always armed except when I'm in the courthouse.
No question about it. Callers that are holding, just hold on. We have one more story to get to, and that is the Justin Ross Harris death trial. She will be allowing certain things into the trial. Let's hear this, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Is there a date in February where the defendant actually at least makes a statement about seeing a photograph of her?
Yes, sir.
Well, that is explicit testimony in the case of the Cobb County man accused of sexting an underage girl while his son died inside a hot car. Today, a judge denied a request to drop sexting charges in the case of Justin Ross Harris. He will stand trial early next year in the death of his 1-year-old little boy, Cooper.
Developing tonight, Tracy Hutchins tells us how prosecutors are going to use those graphic messages in their case against Harris.
While his son Cooper sat strapped in a car seat in blistering heat, prosecutors say Justin Ross Harris sent sexual messages to an underage girl. They built their case in court Monday with the help of Cobb County Police Detective Phil Stoddard.
And he got her to send a photograph to him of a part of her body.
That is correct.
And what part of her body was that?
Her exposed breast.
Stoddard testified the text went on for months with a girl just 16 years old.
On the 28th of February, 2014, what statement, evinced the desire to see a photograph of CD and her vagina?
He says, I want to see your hot, wet.
I mean, the prosecutor wants to make this guy look ugly, and they're doing that.
Defense attorney Paige Pate calls it devastating evidence.
So I think it's going to be